A week or so ago, Joe Rogan had Josh Zepps on his podcast. Josh Zepps is a host at HuffPost Live, and he made a really great point about religion that I wanted to share with you. Let's listen.
And they slowly but surely created these fables and these parables and these things that eventually were written down and translated from language to language. I find it absolutely fascinating when you look at it from a historical perspective of this being, this organism trying to understand its place in the cosmos. And that's what I think is beautiful about religion. I think from a historical perspective, it's beautiful. The problematic aspects of it, when you try to apply it in 2014 with all the goddamn information that we know, and I didn't mean to say goddamn, but I said it because it's appropriate, accidentally. The information that we have now that refutes virtually everything that's in
right. I mean, look, what you say is very nice and poetic about the historical origins of religion, but as soon as the Enlightenment came along, as soon as the scientific method was developed, as soon, certainly, by the time Charles Darwin provided an explanation with how naturalistic processes could give rise to intelligent life, you don't need those original myths anymore. I mean, we should long ago have been able to dispense with them. And the fact that we're unable to talk openly and frankly about how concerned we ought to be about people who take their religions literally,
yes,
is a problem.
It's a huge problem.
And I also have a problem. I agree with Sam Harris also on the point that, you know, moderate. You say you enjoy talking about Christianity with this Christian who you had on. I do have a problem with people who give cover, essentially, to religious extremists by presenting religion as if it can be a reasonable thing. Because to the extent that moderate Christians or moderate Muslims are moderate is the extent to which they don't really follow the letter of their faith, right? I mean, you have to reinterpret and kind of squint and peer at your holy book through a particular prism and then do a lot of juggling and reinterpreting in order to come out with a conclusion that is kind of morally tenable in 2014 to secular people.
That's a really, really interesting point, and I have also heard Sam Harris make similar points to it, but for whatever reason, it didn't, like, click or land in my mind in the way that it did when I heard Josh Zepps lay it out there. He worded it in a great way where he made it very clear. And, I mean, think about what he's saying. He's saying that to the extent that we all get along with and like religious people is the extent that they blow off their religion. That's such a great way of putting it, because we all know plenty of people, probably a majority of the people that we know would describe themselves as some kind of religious person, whatever it happens to be. You know, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist, I'm a Muslim, whatever. But those people, particularly the people who listen to my show, like if you hang out with those people and you like those people, the reality is that those people call themselves that, kind of like they were born into it, more like it's an ethnicity than a religion. And then they really ignore it. They ignore it in almost every way, shape, and form, and they act in daily life like secular humanists, like people who, you know, have a basic understanding of morality and ethics, and they treat each other with respect and kindness, and they're in favor of people living their lives as they choose, and et cetera, et cetera. That's a deeply secular humanist approach to life and a secular humanist morality, but they call themselves, I'm a Christian or I'm a Muslim. So it's, when you frame it like that, it's such a devastating point, because I think of, like, my mother, for example. I love her to death. She's an absolute angel if there was one. And she's a Catholic. And she goes and she raised me Catholic. She goes to church pretty much every week. But there are a few times where she said stuff where I'm like, I don't think you really get it. Like, she mentioned how, you know, oh, I went to church on this night because I wanted to get it over with. Like, you wanted to get it over with? Well, then you're not, like, you're really serious about your Catholicism. You just went to get it over with. And it's clear that she was just raised in that situation and in living that way, and so it just gives her comfort to go through the motions. But when you press her, like, gay marriage, yeah, I'm for it. Contraception, yeah, of course, I'm for it, yeah. Abortion, well, you know, I'm kind of against it, but if my sister ever got pregnant, I would have taken her to get an abortion in like 3 seconds. Okay, so you're not really Catholic. You're not really Christian. You call yourself that, and you go through the motions, but you don't really believe it. You don't really believe it. See, that's the thing. The people who are most honest about their religions are the fundamentalists. They are the most honest, and that goes for every religion. The crazy conservative fundamentalist Christians, the crazy conservative fundamentalist Muslims. And look, I'm still somewhat conflicted on the point overall, though, because when he says, well, moderates give the fundamentalists cover, right? Like the moderates lend respectability to the idea of religion X, and then that allows the crazy people within the religion to get away with it and then hide behind, but I'm this good person because I'm religious. This is the group I'm part of. I'm Muslim or I'm Christian. I don't know if that particular point is 100% true, because I think, again, with my mother, for example, is she giving cover to Pat Robertson because she's Christian and Pat Robertson's Christian and Pat Robertson's crazy and she's just a normal person living a normal life? You know, does Cenk, he was raised Muslim, does his family give cover to ISIS? To me, that seems a little extreme to say that, but at the same point, I get it from an intellectual perspective. I understand that there's a point to be made there that the more you blow off your religion, the better we view you according to today's morals. Look, even with the Jesus, some people would argue, well, the New Testament with Jesus, it's all love, so if somebody abides by that, it's fine. But the problem with that argument is, either way, it's radical, because if you're a Christian, number one, on social issues, you have to be uber conservative. You'd have to want to ban pork and shrimp and crab and ban men getting haircuts and shaving their face and ban women and men touching each other when they're on their period. And, you know, you'd have to be in favor of polygamy. And sure, on economic issues, you'd have to be so incredibly radical that you're way to the left of Karl Marx, where Jesus wanted to get rid of all poor people. Get rid of them. Give away everything you own. He wasn't even in favor of equal opportunity where we could all make it and be prosperous. He was anti-prosperous. So if you're abiding by any religion, even Buddhism, that has a lot of tenets that are insane and make no sense. Even religions that we would normally think, well, that's a good religion. No, they're all crazy because they're all dogmatic. They're all rigid. They all preach nonsense. So yes, if you abide by them at all, we're not going to like you. We only like religious people and call them good to the extent that they blow off their religion. So overall, I think it's a really devastating point and a really smart point. The only part that I struggle with is that really the conclusion that we have to come to? That the moderates in the faith give cover to the fundamentalists? Because on one hand, it's true, but on the other hand, you can say, but the moderates do disagree on specific policy issues. So they would tell the fundamentalists to fuck off. Like, it's not like my mom is going to cheer on Pat Robertson as he says that, you know, Satan goes into people's bodies on Halloween, like he did say. She'd be like, you're an idiot, I disagree with you. So is that really giving him cover, or is that trying to bring a better name to said religion and really mainstream it and make it more rational? I don't know. On that specific point, I'm conflicted. But on the overall point, I do think it's a really, really good point.